Hello guys, this is Guru Prasad here. So in today's session, I'll go through few of the key tips on how to conduct meetings. I think the first action, the first step, what I would like to emphasize is the invitation. So invitation. So before conducting a meeting, so you should know whom to invite, and if the meeting need to be productive, you need to invite the key people who can make some decisions, who can contribute to the meetings, or who can provide feedback during the meetings. If you invite more number of people whom are not required for the call, then it may not be productive, and the discussion may lead to it's a longer duration, and it may not be productive. So the first step is to choose the right attendance for the call. So make sure you have the key guys in the call who can really contribute to the meeting. So every meeting need to have some kind of a begin, discussion, and the end. So at the end of the meeting, you should come up with some kind of a consensus. Some meetings may not end up in a consensus, but still it should be a productive meeting. So the first one I would emphasize on whom you invite, the people, is critical for the success of the meeting. This is first step. So the second one, what I would emphasize is on agenda. So agenda is the goal or a purpose of this meeting, what you would like to achieve by end of the call or end of the meeting. So having an agenda for the meeting defines what you would like to achieve, and the agenda has to be prepared much like before the call, obviously, maybe a couple of days before or a week before. It depends on the size of the call or size of the scope of the meeting. If the scope and the attendees are large, then it's always better to give a heads up a week before and show them what you would like to achieve in the upcoming meeting next week. And you can also explain them brief what you would cover in the session, so that they get some kind of an idea and they can prepare for the meeting well ahead. If the agenda is short, or if the scope is a bit short, then maybe a day before you can send the agenda to everyone, and it must be a very clear agenda so that people know what you are trying to achieve out of this call. That is the second item. The third item is, I would say, preparation. A meeting, the person who is conducting a meeting has to prepare well in advance, and he or she should be able to answer at least first or second level questions or clarifications which is being asked during the call or during the meeting. Any media is okay, so you don't need to spend hours together making PPTs or any kind of fancy stuff. Even if you are able to explain in a Word document or in an Excel document, that should even work as long as you are thorough of the subject, what you are going to show or present during the call. So the presenter has to be a confident person in the subject which he or she is presenting. So preparation is a must. Without preparation, I think the meeting can go in many other ways and agenda may not be met. So if you are well prepared, you can clarify many doubts or clarifications to the people, and then I believe it will be a fruitful meeting. At the end, even your agenda will be hopefully covered. Okay, that was my third item which I would like to emphasize. The fourth one is listen. Yeah, the listening is an important skill. It looks like it's very common or simple, but it's very challenging and a difficult skill to acquire. Even though you are a presenter or the leader of the meeting, in many cases you need to have the skill to listen what people are saying or what people are asking, and you should also grasp their views. I think that is very important so that they are into this call or they are into this meeting so that they can participate. If they think they are not part of this call, if their voices are not heard, then the getting buy-off from them or getting alignment with them may be challenging. So listening more and talking less is an important thing which need to be considered. And regarding the communication, even though you are the presenter of the call, you should make sure that you give a chance to everyone, may not be everyone, the most of the people who is attending the call to express their views. And if they are talking or communicating, it is not a good practice to cut their communication in between. Instead, you need to wait at the right spot where you can pitch in and then talk or express your views, and you can balance the communication. If the communication is going in a different way which you had not expected, then you should bring back to the scope so that at the end the agenda has to be met, right? So in that case, you own the meeting still, but you need to listen more and then talk less, give chance to express their views, collect their feedbacks, exchange their ideas, so then continue with the meeting. So this is my fourth recommendations or a fourth point which I would like to tell. The fifth one is very important one. Is time management. So the goal of the presenter or the driver of the meeting is to make sure the agenda is met. If a meeting time is 1 hour, then you need to make sure how you divide this 1 hour into various sections, and still you get a buy off them from the people and exchange their ideas. Still you are able to make the agenda. So that is the key. So the splitting of the time slot is a crucial, and you need to keep managing the time and you need to continuously listen where the discussion is going. If the discussion is going off track, then you need to get back the communication or the discussion in the right track. So that is your main thing. So that keeping time, maybe you can assign a person within your team to make sure that he can keep time track, and he can highlight that after a certain time, if the discussion is not happening in the way which you think, you can highlight that we are out of time, or we just have few minutes left, many things to cover. So they can he or she can highlight and then still keep the time track. Okay, so this is timekeeping is very important if you want to make sure that agenda items are met. Okay. And the fifth point is so controlling the meeting, controlling I would say. So there can be a participants within the call who may end up in discussing which is irrelevant to the meeting agenda. So we should always make sure that the presenter or the person who was invited, he is the driver of the call, right? So he or she has to make sure that they are the owner of this meeting. So even though the participants are there in the call, you must control the meeting in such a way that it's on track. Whenever you think it is not in place, going in the right direction, then you should highlight, and then you should say that, okay, let's come back to the agenda items. I think we are going off track. Or we can also say, we can take this communication or take this piece out of this call and then have a closer, deeper discussion if needed in a different session. So such kind of communication, such kind of feedback during the meetings are very crucial, because people time is very important, including the person who is organizer, even his time is important. So controlling the meeting, owning the meeting and driving it is a very key aspect of the call or meeting. And seventh point, which I would like to tell, is it's a very basic thing, but many times we forget it. So water. So drinking water before the call is very important, which will bring a balance in you. And also keeping water handy during the call is also a very important thing, so that whenever you need of water, whenever you are anxious, or whenever you thirst because of various tensions or any other aspect, so once you drink certain amount of water, automatically you will have a balance, and you can come back and you can contribute during the call without any disruptions. So water plays an important role in the meeting. So be hydrated, that's a good practice. And don't eat much, or eat with a balanced diet, and have sufficient water, keep water handy, and then start the call. So again, the next portion is same regarding the timekeeping. On the point 8, I would say punctual. What I mean by punctual is start, end. So every meeting has to, I would say must, start on time. So you should not wait. You should make sure that the participants accept the meeting well in advance. If they have not responded to your meeting invite, then you should ask them whether they will be available for the call, whether they'll be able to participate. So those kind of follow-ups should be done prior to the meeting, and everyone has to start or join on time, and then it's a owner's or a present responsibility also to end the meeting on time. So the time is a very precious thing. It's obviously it's a limited one. So priorities are different for each person. So you need to make sure that you start and end the call 100% on time. So that is a must. If you need more time for a discussion, then it can happen in the next call or in the next follow-up call. But at that call, it has to start and end at the time where you had specified. So we should know that people time is very, very important and you must respect it. Okay, the ninth point was, so once you're done with the meeting, so sending the action list and consensus is a good practice. So many times we forget this. We conduct the meeting, we start on time, we end on time. So we discuss many things, but we don't make a note of what we discussed. So it's always either you record the meeting if it is allowed, otherwise write down the key points which was discussed or agreed during the call. So that is very important. And you should send this note or consensus notes to everyone who has attended during the call. So without consensus, without action list, even though meeting was fruitful, but we will not have a documentation, we may need to meet again to what we agreed upon. So that is again a waste of time. So it's always good to document what you agreed upon and what were the pending actions from the meeting. So this will be the 9th point. And the 10th point, I would say, follow up. So any meeting which you have will result in some kind of an actions what you need to make in order to improve or create or many things. So you need to follow-ups on actions. It can be actions, or you need to follow up on the further calls or discussions if you're not close on the consensus. If you have some action points which was resulted from the meeting, then it has to be taken separately and then followed up on a regular basis until the actions are complete. Then the agenda or the meeting intent will remain. So in order to close that meeting agenda or meeting intent, then you need to close on all the list of actions which was resulted from this session. So I think these are the 10 points which I tried to emphasize. So this meeting etiquette, I would say, it came through my experience by attending multiple meetings and also attending some training sessions. I would say these are the 10 points. You can take it as a best practice. It can be applicable for a beginner or a mid-senior or a senior, I think the flow remains similar. I would say almost all 10 points are applicable, and I think if you practice these 10 points, then your meetings will be successful, as it's best practice, I would say. Okay, hope you enjoyed the session. So go through my these 10 points, try to implement in your daily work. If you think you get something new, yep, you can comment it in the comment section, or you can provide the feedback so that even I can consider for my improvement, and I can add to my list so that I can improve together. Thank you all. Have a nice day.